Hello, I am Paul Ndiho. Today on Different Perspectives, I will discuss Burkina Faso's new policy for free education. In April 2025, Burkina Faso launched a policy for free education from primary school to university, led by President Ibrahim Traoré. This initiative also provides free textbooks for primary school students. The new policy in Burkina Faso is a significant step towards fully realizing free education, aiming to eliminate financial barriers for young leaders. This shift is expected to empower the youth and enhance opportunities for their personal and professional growth. To discuss the implications of this policy for young people in Burkina Faso, I'm joined by Professor Elliot Masocha, a full professor at DeVry University and Keller Graduate School of Management. Dr. Masocha will provide insights into how such a transformative policy can reshape the educational landscape and empower the next generation. Dr. Masocha, welcome to Different Perspectives.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a while. How are you?
I am doing great and hope you are doing good too.
Surviving under the circumstances. We are surviving and trying to reinvent ourselves.
Which is good.
Let's start off by us looking at the latest developments in Burkina Faso. President Ibrahim Traoré has announced, taken the whole country by surprise, that he's going to start offering a free primary education all the way to university. This is certainly something that a lot of African countries don't do or don't have the resources to do. Your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that African countries have the resources to do that, and it's only because they don't have the will to do that. They really don't understand that it can be done, and this is a very good thing for President Traoré to do that, to show African leaders that it can be done if you are going to manage your resources well, if you are going to choose the right people to work for you, and also if you are going to be able to learn from others as well, because that's where we really miss it a lot, that we don't do things with people at heart, and yet those people at heart, they are the people we claim to represent. They are the people, who have put us in those positions to work for us. And then we tend to, enrich ourselves. We tend to create a culture of corruption where we are just going to look at ourselves and the bad part of it is that when we have any other problem, we go out of the country, kind of like stealing money from our own countries and using it in other countries, which is not good at all. So President Traoré is doing a lot of things that include paying all debt for his, country to the IMF, to the World Bank, Africa Development Bank, using resources in his country that are even less than resources in other countries that may include a country like Zimbabwe with all types of minerals. Mm-hmm. And you will find our leaders promising people, that they are going to fund education, they're going to make education free, printing in their newspapers, and that never happened. So he's just, living by his words that this can be done. He's a young man, and, of which our African leaders should really, learn a lot from such a young person who is doing that. And he actually, did not accept the salary for a president. He said he's a military person, he's a soldier. He is just going to stay a soldier, whether he's going to be a head of his country. And it's not about money. It's about people that you are representing.
This is a very ambitious program, offering a free education from primary to all the way to university. It requires a lot of commitment. It requires investment in the teachers, in the schools, in even the students who are going to attend some of this. So one would pose a question and ask, where is that money going to come from? In light of the fact that they're still trying to recover some money from some of these minerals that have been exploited by Western countries, where is he going to get those resources?
Well, if you see a person like him offering that, he has really done his studies and be advised that it can be done, the resources are there. And the first thing really that he is targeting here is education, because the means of education shall forever be encouraged, because religion, morality, and knowledge are very much necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind. So he may not have enough resources, but I think at this point in time, he has found it that the first resources that he is going to have and the commitment must be in education. For him to be able to lift his country, he has to lift his people. These are the future leaders of his country and Africa. So investments, you know, is already there. Business people may actually partner with somebody who is that much clean in terms of corruption. And even some foreign organizations, you may be surprised as well, that they may actually come in when they have seen that their money is going to be managed well. So there are a lot of resources that we have besides, mineral resources in the country, but there are human resources as well. The diaspora remittances as well. When we see that our leaders are doing the right thing, we are resources for our country. So he's also counting on that as well, that, the world is going to support him, and his own people in his own country are going to support him as well. And he's also going to manage his mineral resources very much good, to pay teachers, okay, encourage other stakeholders as well, because you will find that even if he had said that education is going to be free, but there may be some stakeholders such as parents who can pay, who will say, okay, to help our government, to help our country, I am going still to pay. For example, a person like me, if my government in Zimbabwe is going to do what President Traoré is going to say, I'm going to say, well, thank you so much, Mr. President. I can pay for my children, and I'm going to keep on paying to help my country.
Interesting take on that. How important is education across the board, whether it's in Burkina Faso, whether it's in Zimbabwe, where you come from, or elsewhere in Africa?
Education is very much important, because for all of us to be where we are, even the president himself, and for anything that we need in any country, it's because of the education people have. And I don't want to minimize traditional education that was already there in Africa, because it also helps us to carry our culture into the modern world, into the modern education world. So education of all types, it's so much important. Without education, we won't be able to see where even the world is going, or where even we are coming from, or where we are as a people. So, we know for sure that religion, morality, and knowledge being necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged. If I am to quote from Ohio University's class gateway, that's what they believe in, that schools and the means of education shall forever be encouraged, because that's where good governance come from. That's where the happiness of mankind come from, because we have to know before we do things right.
There are a lot of people who have leveled criticism against President Ibrahim Traoré, that he's running too fast. He has these ambitious plans for the country. But then when you talk to people that he represents, the people of Burkina Faso, they love him because they have never seen anything like that. In fact, some people compare him to their later former president, Thomas Sankara. They say, at least from what they have seen, his leadership style, he represents something that could take that country to another level. Your thoughts on that?
It is normal to get people who criticize you, and at the end of it, action always speaks louder than word. So, to him, I can say, don't worry about all the criticism. it's normal. Just do what you believe is right, just to do what your people allow you to do, and just to do what is going to show the whole world that those people who are criticizing you were wrong. And people will always be there to criticize because they don't want to do that. It's a way of maybe hiding their corrupt activities to try to divert attention from somebody who is doing good for his country and for his continent and even for the whole world as well. So those who are criticizing him, they are misguided. There's nothing wrong in moving fast if you know that you're doing the right thing. And he is a human being at the end of the day. He may make mistakes like any of us. And I believe that he is somebody who is a lifelong learner. He's learning from those criticisms that he's getting from people and maybe making corrections and moving on. But no one is perfect. And I like the way he's doing. He found, people supporting him, resources there, and he has all the reasons to move as fast as he can because his people have been deprived for many years.
What makes President Traoré stand out? What makes him really tick and connect with the ordinary person?
He stayed with his job. That's one thing people have known him as a military person. So he didn't want to change and take that image of the traditional African president. And that shows humility. And what happened is that if you have anything to offer to the world, you stay humble. Just like a tree laden with fruits, it boils down with humility for people to get fruits from it. That's what President Traoré is doing, which is a very much good thing, interacting with people of all levels, showing that he is human, showing that he is because they are. So that makes him so much stand out that he's not the person who will put on suits, who barricade himself in offices and not interact with people. And at his age, that one thing that is making him stand out as well, plus what he is doing that has never been done in African countries, it also makes him stand out as well.
Let's move this conversation to maybe to a broader audience. Let's look at it from the continental perspective. Let's talk about, let's say, your country where you come from. You have a lot of resources in your country. Almost every other country looked up to Zimbabwe. When it came to food production, Zimbabwe had some of the highest literacy levels than any other country in Africa. But somehow things went in a different direction. What would you, if you were to compare Zimbabwe, where Zimbabwe is, and where some of these young and upcoming countries like Burkina Faso or young leaders are taking that country, how would you compare the two?
Well, what happened to Zimbabwe is very much, unfortunate. When we got our independence in 1980, education was open to all of us, everyone. And I am one of those people who benefited by starting my high school under a tree. But mistakes, were made that as education was opened up, it was not reformed to be able to solve problems of a country. Because at the bottom of education is that each country offers education that must solve its own problems. And Zimbabwe did not do that. We kept on offering colonial type of education that was producing workers, not jobs. So, and then jobs, because of a lot of people that were coming out of school without getting any jobs, it made, it kind of like was a type of underdevelopment to still continue with the colonial type of education where we will push people to cities that no longer have jobs. And you look at cities right now, everybody's selling everything everywhere. And then we had the land reform program that wasn't as organized as it was supposed to be. And the leaders back then, they accepted the errors they have made, that they gave people land, but not resources to produce what they were supposed to produce for for their country to be a breadbasket of Southern Africa. So, and then corruption got in a little bit by a little bit to the point where now it is culture that people are looking at themselves, putting all the resources right into themselves. If they own schools, they want that school to be like heaven. And the next school right by the side, it won't have anything. And you find people building big houses, people flashing, money, giving each other cars and all sorts of things. You look at the hospitals, you look at our schools. Every time I go to schools myself, to the point where at some point I had to pay school fees for orphans. But where is the government? Where are our resources? Nobody knows. So it's like at times we need to look into ourselves. We need to look at what other people are doing and try to have people at heart, because those people are the ones who make ourselves whom we are. Okay. You are because I am. And these are the future leaders, whom we are just going to look up to when they take over the country. Are they going to be able to do that? Are only our sons, whom we are pampering with everything, the ones who are just going to lead, Africa? Absolutely not.
How about people who said that those people who use the term the youth are our future leaders is just a rhetoric? You have people who have been in power for a very long time. They don't want to leave those positions and at least let the young people bring fresh ideas. For example, what we see in Burkina Faso, it has taken this young leader really to bring about reforms. Maybe is that an approach that can work in the case of Zimbabwe and all the other countries that have these long-time leaders who have been in power for a very long time, and they don't want fresh ideas from young people?
And because of corruption as well, those leaders we have, they will keep on, promoting or appointing people who are related to them, even if they are young, but they're just going to do exactly the same as their appointers. So there's not going to be any, change at all, except if there's going to be somebody from outside the political circle, maybe just like President Traoré, who sees things better than the young people who have already been in that political party, who are related to those political leaders. And some of them are not even educated at all. They don't even know anything. And they're just promoted because they've been so much loyal to the party, to the president. And when they get those positions, they really don't know, anything, and they will start to appoint people who are also related to them to work with them, which is not a good thing at all. And to change, corruption from being a culture, it must be taught in schools from kindergarten, from our, homes, because corruption is kind of like stealing from all of us. Everybody you see in the streets struggling or selling everything everywhere, everybody poor, it may be because his or her wealth was stolen through corruption. It keeps on being stolen, you know, for I don't know when it is going to be. But our education seems like it's not recognizing that corruption is a culture that must be taught from home, in schools, so that we're going to raise a generation that is corrupt free, instead of taking power by force. And that's not a good thing at all, take power by force. But let's educate each other, including the old people who may be corrupt. They may not really know how bad corruption is. They may think that they are entitled to that because they have, liberated the country, which is not a good thing at all, because it makes the country just, uh, you know, the majority will be poor, and we are insecure if you are rich,
Yeah.
because we barricade ourselves in Jura holes, razor wires, and we are also, when we walk out, we see street kids begging every corner of
Uh,
streets in our cities. They have street kids. Where are our hearts when we see street kids, when we see women and even men struggling, and yet we are driving by with our cars? We don't even care.
I wanted to go back to a point that you made earlier. You talked about educating people from the young age about corruption. Do you really think that these classes were started at a very, very young age? It will eliminate this issue of corruption, because it looks like you also pointed out earlier, that it's become part of our culture. So what is it going to take really to change that narrative, where people can do things without expecting to get a bribe, without expecting to be hired because they're a relative of a politician?
If we're going to incorporate it in schools, in homes, as scenarios, as case studies, so that students are going to play, around with scenarios or simulations of, corruption or corrupt activities and how it can affect them, then I see that within a short period of time, a lot of people will understand exactly that corruption is bad because it steals from you. Yeah, it makes you really unsafe as well. If you're going to enrich yourself in a village or in a town more than anybody else, all the eyes are going to be on you and you're going to be a target. You're not going to enjoy your freedom as well when everybody's looking at you, when you're walking around, everybody is just, the kids, street kids are asking you for money, begging you to buy things from them. That's not the happiness you will get. So it all depends with the lessons that are put it, and religion as well can play a very big part because Africa is a religious, continent. We have, Islam, we have Christianity right there. So it takes a lot, but it can take short time, depending on how willing we are as human beings to look into ourselves and say we have been corrupt for a very long time and this is the time to change and be like other countries. And systems can actually be put in place, technological systems that can also monitor, you know those corrupt activities as well. We can also hire some foreign consultants from countries that have done it right to come and advise us.
You bring up a good point there. You said we can use technology to curb corruption, but at the end of the day, this technology is also run and managed by people who are very, very much a part of that corrupt system that we are trying to fight. So how can we leverage technology to do that?
That's why it is so much important to hire, foreign consultants to come and teach us how they do it in terms of managing corruption using the current technology that is there. So it may cost us a little bit, but at the end of it all, we may gain a lot because it's all about learning how other countries have done it. How is President Traoré managing to do it? We have one of our own in Burkina Faso. So he may exactly teach us, how he has managed to do what he wants African leaders to do as well. So it's all about working together because, as I've said, before, over and over again, that we are because they are. So let's learn from others and let's be lifelong learners and we practice what we say we are going to do because in many countries governments promise there is going to be free education. We've heard that multiple times in Zimbabwe, but we've never seen it.
To your point, there are a lot of countries that have offered free education. But in most cases, and in those countries where they have quote unquote offered free education, it's really very, very basic education. A lot of people, a lot of parents who have the means end up taking their kids to private schools, to private universities, because the public schools are not functional. The public schools, even though they are free, they just cannot teach these kids to compete on the global stage. Your response?
Because the leaders may not know that what free education means. It doesn't just mean paying fees. It means you're supposed to fund educational institutions. You're supposed to pay teachers, you know, maybe competing with private schools as well. Because in other countries, free education, it comes with a lot of funding in schools where even some parents will take out their children from private schools into public schools. So it depends with what we call free. And that's where we need some foreign advisors as well. What needs to be done if we're going to offer free education and make our schools, public schools, compete with private schools? It can be done if we are just going to be able to work together and also work with teachers as well. What do they need to uplift our education in public schools? They know far much more than even government officials because they are within the system and they are on the ground to inform the government exactly what needs to be done to compete with private schools. Because you look at it this way, teachers in private schools are trained the same way as teachers who teach in public schools. But there is something that will be lacking in public schools that will make education from public schools weaker than education from private schools when we have the same teachers trained from the same colleges and universities.
Right.
So the difference is in the way we fund those schools.
From doing my research, there are a lot of people who say good things about you. They say you teach at one of the most prestigious universities here in the United States. Not only do you do that, but you've gone beyond that. You go back home and teach at other universities there. You've empowered so many people. So many people who have come through your hands. You've given them your shoulders to see a little bit further than you have. What makes you tick? What makes you want to do those things for these other people that are less privileged?
Well, it's because I came from them. And besides teaching, only at universities, I also go and teach in my village as well. And you can search an article that was published by Capital University, what I do in my rural home that I was born and raised. I never forget them. And I have uplifted them with a lot of projects. Every group of people, women or men, who need chicken projects or any project they can come up with, or maybe a business plan, I told them to come to me and we can work together to see what they can do to help themselves and then help others. So we have a lot of projects that are happening from the ground all the way up because my university is not only on formal campuses. My university started from the village. I came from there, and that village is who I am. I am not going to be here in the United States of America and be proud of where I am before I am proud of where I came from, because I strongly believe that I am because they are. They are the ones who first educated me to even talk, to even walk, to even relate to people. So that's my motivation to go back to the village that I was born and see their problems. I want them to lead themselves out of poverty, and I'm learning from them, and they are also learning from me. And every time I go back to my village, I buy groceries for a lot of people. I will go and sit down with them. They have so many questions about the United States, and I have so many questions about how I can help them to make our own United States from the village up to the whole Zimbabwe and the whole of Africa.
If a kid from your village was listening to you right now and they wanted to be you, what would it take for them to climb on your shoulders and become you or see a little bit further than you have?
The first thing I tell them is to look at other people's problems and help others because you can't do it alone. Okay? You can't do it alone. You have to be able to learn from others. You have to be able to take your education serious and never give up. And viewers may be surprised that I'm one of those people who failed English language and wrote it 9 times until I passed it to be
Interesting.
able to be where I am. So that never giving up spirit is really key. You keep on keeping on, but do not forget people around you to help in any way you can. They are old people. A prayer of somebody who is old, if you're going to find firewood for the old people, fetch water for the old people, wash clothes for the old people, just like what the help that our first lady in Zimbabwe is doing. She said she learned it from the village and she is still doing it. It's very much important. So I tell young people that make sure our power come from other people as well. This is your village that you were born. never lose your roots. Go and water your roots. Just being there and just walking around there where you were born, it's going to empower you. And that's what I have done for the 24 years I have been in the United States. I have gone back home 17 times, going back to my village where my parents are no longer there. Just for people to see me as a professor from the United States of America, those young people are inspired that they can also do it.
Well, Professor, I'm inspired as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have a great day.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Elliot Masocha, a full professor at DeVry University and Keller Graduate School of Management.